Welcome everybody to the January 23rd, 2024 CB14 Community Safety Committee meeting. I had to practice that 4 times to get it right. I'm Barton Prezant, one of the co-chairs. My other co-chair, Hindi Bendel, is not available to join us this evening. We have 2 agenda items. The first will be the community introduction to the 70th Precinct's new commanding officer, Deputy Inspector Gregory Mackey, whom I'm sure will be joining us shortly. Yeah, okay, he snuck in before I didn't even look up and he appears. Okay, that works. And our second item will be an overview of the programs and services offered by the Kings County District Attorney's Office, to be presented by Nancy Lulu, the CB14 rep from Eric Gonzalez's office. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Deputy Inspector Mackey.
Hello out there. Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Happy New Year to everyone. I didn't have the link. Forgive me. I don't have the link on my phone. I just realized, so I'm using a Detective Newsies spot here. I just want to acknowledge the fine work by our community board in keeping our community safe. Sean Campbell, our community council president, Ed Powell, Joe Dweck, I see there as well. Wonderful community partners. And, you know, thank you. If there's anyone I missed, thank you for your continued support. We can't do this without you. We can't possibly do this without you. So, year-end 2023, credit to the phenomenal leadership of Inspector Bruce Separano. Happy to report that the 7-0 precinct finished with a 9.5% reduction in major crime, down in just about every category, with the exception of grand larceny autos were up slightly, 124 versus 121. Homicides were up 6 versus 3, and you know, those two dramatic decreases in the rest of the majors. So we're definitely going to do it again this year. Great team at the 7-0, great community, and as long as we have that, we can accomplish anything. 28 days for a 28-day period for the 7-0. Happy to report we're down 34.7% in major crime, 79 versus 121, 17 versus 11 robberies, so slight uptick there. 24 versus 28 felony assaults, 6 versus 17 burglaries, 20 versus 53 grand larcenies, a dramatic decrease, 62.3%. And 12 versus 9 grand larceny orders, which we're seeing a slight uptick in. So I believe this is a safety meeting. So, you know, as with any of these forums, I like to throw out general crime prevention tips, things to help you, help your constituents. You know, you know what I like is an informed public. A informed public is a safe public. We're seeing with the grand larceny autos, we're seeing a little bit of an uptick with high-end vehicles such as BMWs. You know, the luxury makes being and you know, this is basically what takes place. This is the typical scenario. Owner will leave the key fob in the vehicle, typically overnight, either forgetting it there or for convenience purposes. Those particular vehicles, those high-end vehicles, the mirrors fold out. They stay out if the key fob is still in the car. If you take it with you and lock the car, the mirrors will automatically fold in. So these high-end vehicle thieves know this, so they look for the parked vehicle that's got the mirrors out, and they know that way they know the fob's in there. So that's one thing that you can do to decrease combat auto theft. Another thing that we see is key on, fob or key on, ignition running, car unattended. Person just went into either pick up food, deliver food, go grab something real quick in a store, usually in a commercial location, usually on Flatbush Avenue, and then when they come out, the car is gone. Right. We had one instance in the last 28 days, maybe just a little outside the 28-day period. We had a vehicle parked Sunday morning. Gentleman was going in to drop off laundry real quick. Left the car unlocked. Our partners in Shomrim did a fantastic job. They observed the individuals going into the car and rummaging through the car and removing stuff from the car. They then observed those individuals take off on foot. Our victim comes out. My car's been broken into. They wind up pursuing the vehicle to a location, I believe, on East 29 and Nostrand. Vehicle, basically, they box the vehicle in. They give chase. They see they basically the perp split up. The main perpetrator is apprehended by Shomrim. Our cops get on the scene. They look around as they always do. Active crime scene. They observe a firearm that was tossed under the vehicle by this perpetrator. And then for a closing, we look at the video. We always look at video, external video. Video clearly shows the person as he's fleeing from Shomrim tossing the firearm underneath the vehicle. So one gun off the street. In this 28-day period alone, 6 dangerous firearms removed from the 7-0 precinct off the street. 2 by patrol, active jobs. 2 by intelligence obtained from our field intelligence officers, and then 2 pursuant to a car stop in the Regent Flatbush area. And then there was another one obtained, a 7th one obtained by our Brooklyn South narcotics officers, detectives conducting operations this weekend. So a lot of guns out there, but we're getting them off the streets to keep you and you safe. That is what we do. General other tips, if you're out and about, we see the grand larcenies still there. Typically with the unattendeds. So the best way to not be a target is to just make sure you're situationally aware. We know the younger generation, they're always in the phone, and it's kind of easy to get distracted. But when you allow yourself to become distracted, that's when you can become a victim. These perps look out for that stuff. So whether it's unattended stuff on a counter inside a retail establishment, whether it's a phone, credit card, we've seen the credit cards inside the phone cases as well. Just being aware of your surroundings can pay huge dividends. As far as robberies, street robberies are always a concern for us. The most notable one that we see is youth on youth. Unfortunately, none of these are really near schools. They're kind of like in places where juveniles tend to hang out after school, usually on Ocean Avenue in the northern part of the command. What do we do when we see these things? We say, okay, we have a cluster of crime over here. That's where we put our resources. That's where we put our patrol officers. That's where we put our newest field training officers. That's where we put our special ops personnel to engage. So our mission this year is going to be to arrest crime wherever it takes place and drive crime down. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions for me.
I'll start with a quick question just to follow up on the auto theft. I think I remember Inspector Seprano had said that frequently vehicles that are stolen are then subsequently used for another crime. Is that sort of a pattern that you've seen?
Yes, that is a frequent MO. And what we see also is with the different types of auto theft, sometimes it's rental cars, right? Rental cars being used for to conduct do illicit or illegal activity, whether it's to do a shooting whether it's to commit another felony with that vehicle, because the plate would be, basically go back to a rental company, or if they get stopped, there's really no paperwork on the car that goes back to them. So that is one, that's one such example. There's also instances where, these cars will be reported stolen, and several hours later or a day later, it'll be recovered in another part of the borough. Usually either for the purpose of joyriding, or for other, like you said, to conduct another crime with that vehicle.
Thank you.
So,
Carl Henry Cesar, I believe you had a question next.
I do, folks. Good evening. Deputy Inspector Mackey, good evening. Nice to meet you. Yes, my question is, when you were mentioning some of the firearms that have been removed, right? I definitely don't know anything about this universe. And so you had mentioned like dangerous firearms were removed. And so I'm curious, like, what is the definition of a dangerous firearm?
Dangerous firearm is defined as any firearm that is capable of firing a shot. It could be in the form of a handgun. It could be in the form of a revolver. It could be in the form of a rifle, shotgun, long gun, which we primarily don't see those as much as the normal pistol firearms, because they're not easy to carry around. They're not easy to conceal, as a normal pistol or handgun would be. These firearms are carried either on a person or inside an auto, and the person typically that firearm is connected to, and this all goes back to our notion of targeted precision policing, going to historic locations where violence is abundant, has been abundant for historically, is abundant in the current 28-day period, and conducting either car stops based on VTL traffic violations, or observing activity indicative of narcotic sales. And invariably, when these firearms are recovered, either search and sent to a lawful arrest, the person could have, after stop, have an open warrant per se. That would be probable cause to arrest the person, and then upon search or their vehicle, a firearm discovered. Invariably, the person has either a gun charge history or a history of committing violent felonies.
Do you have a follow-up, or I move on? Steve, I believe you're next.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the 70th precinct. I think the entire board looks forward to working with you. We appreciate you coming by the last meeting and this meeting. So thank you. I guess 2 issues I wanted to flag and just get a general sense of what the department's doing so far under your leadership. I know under Deputy Inspector Separano, a lot of folks in the community and electeds as well made the point that there were trucks and cars that were basically sitting on the street eating up parking spaces that were getting tons of tickets and weren't getting towed. So I know to some degree that was prioritized. So I just wanted to get a sense of where that's at, what the problems may be, and what your outlook is in terms of making sure the department's responsive to dealing with issues like that. The second issue was just in terms of if there's any priority or crackdown on the face license plates or fake temporary tags. I know there's obviously the issue with tolls, but more from a safety perspective, I guess the concern would be the speeding cameras aren't, or school cameras aren't picking them up. And also, maybe it's not as much of an issue as it used to be, but I remember going back to the COVID era, it seemed like a lot of gang activity, a lot of shootings were coming from cars with temporary tags. So that's always been on my radar as something to be concerned about. So if you wouldn't mind talking about those 2 issues, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. About the derelict vehicles and the laid-up trailers, it's nothing new. I've seen it in every previous command I've worked in. We have one of our neighborhood coordination officers is tasked with obtaining these locations and these vehicles and getting them hitched up and road towed. And as I think I'm on day. I haven't I lost count. I think I'm on somewhere in the neighborhood of day 40 or 45. So in the command. So that's definitely that's definitely in the mix. And it's good. It's a daily thing. It's a daily thing. Because why? Because if we don't keep up with these things, and I've seen this in previous commands I've worked with, we don't keep up with these things on a daily basis, they're gonna pile up to a point to where they're unmanageable. So yes, to answer that question, yes, that is a priority for us. Things that pervade the community, things that eroded the quality of life of the community. You know, people work for a living. They're driving home. They want to find a place to park. Now they can't park because this derelict car has been on this block for like a month, or this trailer's been laid up here for a week. So yes, that's definitely on the agenda in the 7-0. As far as the temp tags, that is another that's another branch off of the vehicle, the illicit use of the vehicles that I mentioned. Unfortunately, yes, the paper plates are out there. And that's a de facto reason to conduct a vehicle stop. If we see it, we're out there and we see a tag that's that appears fraudulent, that's enough to pull that vehicle over and conduct actionable enforcement on. And to that, as you were saying, with the gang activity, the illicit gang activity using vehicles with paper plates and such, that's vehicles being used, as we talked about before with the grand larceny autos. People have these plates. They defeat the plate readers. They defeat the Argus cameras. They defeat the Easy Pass scanners. So yes, they are more apt to use those vehicles to either commit shootings, gang activity, or other acts of violence. So absolutely, that is also on the agenda here in the 7-0.
Thank you, Inspector. Glenn, I think you might have been next.
Thank you, Barton. Inspector, it's a pleasure to meet you.
How
I'm
are
very
you?
happy to hear about all of the major crime areas going down in crime, and I hope you can keep that up. Thank you. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. Bless you.
Thank you.
Aside from being a community board member, which I am very happy to participate with, I am also the local CERT team chief. So just
Oh,
be
okay.
aware of that. But my concern today is about various types of electric vehicles running around the city, going the wrong way on the one-way streets, coming off curbs at you, riding the sidewalks and so forth, that I do believe are fairly dangerous. And I'm wondering if anything's being done about that. Thank you.
Yes. So recently there was a spike in mopeds being used to conduct thefts of persons either walking down the street with cell phones or other valuables in precincts at outlier hours after the first of the year. The 7-2, the 7-8, the 6-8. The Brooklyn South Borough got on this very quickly, and an operation was conducted involving these vehicles, targeting these vehicles. Usually mopeds or electricized scooters, utilizing sidewalks, going the wrong way down traffic lanes, not having proper registrations. And I just wanted to delineate the electric, as far as city law goes. Electric vehicles are not required to have registrations. Gas powered vehicles or mopeds are, just to make that distinction. However, reckless operation, anything goes. We had an operation last week, very successful. We netted 52 vehicle moped type vehicles that were seized as a result of this operation. And what happens is when these vehicles are seized, they are seized as arrest evidence. The owners do not get them back, and they are taken down to the Erie Basin, the property clerk, and they're basically demolished. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep a close eye on this problem. We know it's pervasive for the residents. People just trying to use the sidewalk. Just trying to walk down the avenue and go get some groceries. And there's no need to be looking over your shoulder to see if there's a moped that's riding illicitly on these sidewalks. Now, as far as I want to address there are also the motorized vehicles that deliver food. All right, we have our crime prevention officers. In addition to conducting enforcement, we want to make sure that they're educated when they're doing this for a living, and they're doing this as an occupation. We want to make sure they're educated as far as the VTL traffic rules go. What they're supposed to yield to and how they're supposed to operate their vehicles. So my crime prevention personnel do go out to these establishments on a regular basis. They make visits to the delivery persons. They hand them out flyers to instruct them on how to stay safe on these vehicles and how not to be a nuisance to the public.
I have a quick question, if I may interrupt, Glenn, if you have a follow-up. But I seem to recall Inspector Separano had said that they have to make a sort of a spontaneous decision whether or not to give chase if they do find one of these electric vehicles behaving in an erratic manner or dangerous manner. And he seemed to sort of imply that in most instances, a car taking off against one of these because they're so agile and can duck here, can duck there, is probably more dangerous than what it is that the scooter, et cetera, itself are doing. So what do you think is the best sort of policy for the 7-0 to follow when they do spot these various drivers behaving recklessly?
Thank you. Good question. And this is what I train my cops to do. We have to always consider the potential danger posed to the public, pedestrians, other motorists, innocent persons by engaging in a pursuit. Pursuits don't work in New York City. Don't work in New York City. Unless now, if you have a heinous crime that's committed by one of these persons on these vehicles, now that's what we have these radios for. We can radio to any other precinct on our division. We can radio over to any other borough. We can, if it's near a bridge or a major highway, we can radio over to, and we know it's heading in that direction. We can radio over to the Port Authority, or the TBTA, what have you. All right, but if it's a violation, we're going to follow safely, but we're not going to unnecessarily endanger other persons by engaging in a full-blown pursuit, if that's what your question is.
Understood. Thanks for the thoughtful response. Glenn, do you have a follow-up? Otherwise, if you don't, I'll move on to Sean.
No, that's good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. Sean, I believe you were next.
Thank you. If we could just go back to Rotos for a second. I'm so excited that there's a Roto NCO. That's going to be my new best friend tomorrow. I just wonder if we could work together to identify any of the cars that could fall under DSNYs if they're shabby enough to be DVO'd by DSNY but have plates on them, and just work to get the plates off where that's a viable action, and then let me know, and then I can work with BK14 and the Sanitation Bureau to put them on the DVO list, just to take some of the onus off, because I think they get reported to PD when they have plates, but not every plate, as we were talking about before, is a legit plate, and if it's not legit, I think it can come off. So I'd love to coordinate on that and get some of these that have been out there a long time out of the way. And I just also wanted to thank you. I know you were able to make that community meeting at the King's Theater that I was not able to make, and there was a lot of stuff that came up at that. I was at the first one. I know that in the follow-up it was that and then some more. So I appreciate you. Scott Nuzzi gave me a call after that, and we're working on a few of the things that came up. But that's a really lively part of the community right now. So I really appreciate that you were there and got to hear from them directly. And then just a quick shout out to Officer Jewett, who's, I guess, heading the new 70th Precinct Youth Leadership Group. And she reached out to me because she's working with them on a project where they have to advocate for something that they've recognized as a quality of life issue. So I provided some information. Apparently, they're following up on trying to get some traffic calming. I think on Bedford was the location that they had identified, and it sounds like a cool project that she went about in a really cool way. So, so thanks for that. And I'll end with the segue is our 17th annual youth conference will be on March 6th. And so I spoke to Officer Jewett about that, and we'll continue to communicate with the precinct. But I'm really excited for you to see it. It's like 50 or 60 agency organizations and job providers, and we get about 400 to 500 young people between the ages of 14 and 21 walking through the doors. It will be at the Y this year. Carl Henry Cesar is one of the co-chairs of that committee. And I think, and the precinct's always very involved and helpful. So we look forward to working with you on that.
Sounds awesome.
Thanks.
And you as well.
Joe, you have got another question?
Thank you, Barton. Yes, Inspector Mackey, I want to thank you for everybody's edification. About 3-4 weeks ago on a Sunday morning, there were threats that bombs were inside of synagogues. And we had gotten those threats. I got the phone calls. I called Inspector Mackey early in the morning, God bless him. He took the call, obviously, and reacted like crazy with it to run it up the flagpole, got all the counterterrorism involved. And it turned out to have been a citywide problem after he made the calls. And by the way, also for everybody's edification, even I needed to be reminded, and this is very important, that everything in the department starts with a 911 call. That anything that we see, anything that we want to report, you have to call 911. When that happens, it's like pins in a map. When the inspector was referring to before where problems are occurring in a particular geographic area, they do it from 911 calls. In the case of this terrorist threat, again, it's all on 911 calls that it gets run up to the different agencies from 911 calls. So we have to all be aware and reminded, as I was, thank you, that we have to call 911. But thank you so much for being available on a Sunday morning. And you're really getting a baptism by fire, Inspector. Thanks.
Thank you.
Steve, I saw your hand was up next, but since Ed had yet to ask a question, is it okay if you go with that? Ed, go ahead. You're muted, Ed. I don't know if you can hear me.
There. Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, not really a question, but I just wanted to mention that I'm aware, as are your bosses, Inspector, of the fine work that you're doing in the community. I'm hearing really good things just from community members, from board members, and from your bosses, that everyone's really pleased with the work you're doing thus far. I mean, I can't say enough about it. I think you're doing a great job. And I also wanted to just quickly mention that the 70 Precinct Community Council is going to be meeting on the 31st, Wednesday, the 31st of this month at 7:30 at Adapt Community Network, which is right across the street from the precinct. So try and come out, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Ed. Steve, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you have something to say, Inspector?
Oh, no, I just wanted to thank Ed for his kind words.
Okay. Steve, you have a question again, and I think I'll make this the last question if that's okay.
Thanks so much, Barton. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just because it came up in my neighborhood listserv over the last few days, I just wanted to flag, and I'm sure it's it's something that many of the officers in the 7th precinct are aware because it's been brought up at build a block meetings. But apparently there's like the guy who lives in the South Midwood area who's basically just a menace. Like he'll like speed, he'll the really concerning thing is I've heard stories where he'll like speed, drive really recklessly, and like almost like target people, like kind of pull away at the last minute. This has happened to like at least 1 or 2 of my neighbors. So I guess things have quieted down for a little while, but it seems like things are picking up again. And I know it's an issue for a lot of folks who live on that block or live around, and it's very close to the school. 315 and 152 is like a half block away from where he lives. So we're just as a neighborhood in South Midwood, we're just concerned that if nothing's done, this guy's just gonna like eventually run over a neighbor or a kid, God forbid, and just want to. We know the police are aware, but just given that it's incidents are happening again, and and all that, we just want to make sure it's still on the precinct's radar. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, then I'm going to sort of wind this up. I do have one last issue I'd like to raise. As you may have heard at our previous meetings, the proliferation of illegal cannabis dispensaries has been sort of a bee in the bonnet of our community board and I think our district. And the general sense is that there has yet to be formed any kind of a protocol between OCM, I guess the marshals and the NYPD to really effectively tackle the issue. And I'm just wondering, in the time you've been here, granted it's been so brief, if you have any sense of what you think a valuable way forward would be to start, popping these off so that they don't keep, re-showing up. And so then it becomes valuable for people to try to have legal ones. Because at this point, I think they're being so discouraged by the proliferation of illegal that the hurdles to owning a legal one are just, basically hindering and discouraging people from moving ahead with it. So I'll leave you with that last question if you have any thoughts on it.
Well, I think there's a civil end of that matter that really we have no control over. As far as enforcement goes, that really rests with the sheriff's department. But as far as the dispensaries and the smoke shops, they do pose a problem for us for crime insofar as that they do generate robberies, and this is a citywide thing, right? This is every precinct that they're in. It's not just a 7-0, it's every precinct that these locations are in has this problem. They the perpetrators know that these places deal typically in cash, right? They're very soft targets, all right? They also have the paraphernalia, easily accessible, and if you're an unscrupulous person, sometimes these assailants are armed. It's very easy to go in there and do your business and make off with a decent amount of cash and be in and out. So that is the problem that we're having insofar as these locations, whether they're there legally or not legally. What I can tell you is that my first week here, a warrant was executed in one of these locations, and a firearm was recovered from that location pursuant to that search warrant that was inside that location. So,
Interesting.
And we're going to continue to cultivate intelligence, and especially in this day and age. We really leverage intelligence from the community, from informants, as a means of getting our foot in the door with these locations. We're getting our foot in the door with knowledge of firearms possession, and we're really going to leverage our intel this year going forward to ensure that we continue to keep the community safe. But as far as whether they're legal or not, that's really not something that we directly have any influence over.
Understood. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time. We really, really appreciate it. And we'll work hard to try to get you a new building there. It's only been a 20-year fight so far, I gather, but maybe you'll be the man on watch when something finally happens. And So, and if you could think of anything else that we can request in our budget requests, as time goes by, just jot it down in a note. You can just send it to the board office, as you see things that you feel the precinct requires, and we'll, try to prioritize that in our budget requests. So thank you again, and Ed's applauding you on the way out, and we hope to see you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Barton. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
So we will move on to Nancy Lulu, who's been patient. Thank you for waiting. I'll just re-announce the agenda item and hopefully won't screw it up. Overview of programs and services offered by the Kings County District Attorney's Office. So fire away whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you so much, Barton. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me this evening. It's great to see you. Happy New Year. For those who don't know me, my name is Nancy Lulu. I'm from the Office of Public Engagement at the Kings County District Attorney's Office. This evening, I will be giving an overview of what is the Brooklyn DA's office and speak about some of the programs at the DA's office. As you know, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office has an unwavering commitment to keeping Brooklyn safe and strengthening our community trust by ensuring fairness and equal justice for all. The office employs more than 1,000 employees and is one of its largest of its kind in the nation. The work of our office is divided amongst various bureaus, divisions, and units staffed by attorneys, investigators, paralegals, and other specialized professionals. The Kings County DA's office works closely with the NYPD and other law enforcement partners to protect the Brooklyn community. Thus includes multiple quality of life issues that impacts our neighborhoods and the city at large. The district attorney is especially focused on prosecuting crime committed by violent offenders. To promote fair justice, the DA's office in some cases will not prosecute some misdemeanor offenses on a case-by-case basis and instead use resources to focus on alternative crime prevention measures and serious drivers of crime. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about the structure of the DA's office. So the Brooklyn DA's office trial zone, as you know, Brooklyn is divided into 23 police precincts, each within its own commander and community precinct council. To better serve those diverse communities, the Brooklyn DA's office is divided into 5 trial zones. Each zone encompasses 4 to 5 precincts within a specific geographic area and is designated by color code. Designated by color code. So we have the red, the blue, the gray, the green, and the orange. Community Board 14 is within the green zone, is under the green zone. This approach enhances communication between bureau chiefs, precinct commanders, and community leaders, thereby aiding law enforcement and establishing priority in reducing crime activity. So assistant district attorneys within each zone handle a full range of offenses from violations, misdemeanors, drug sales, assaults, burglaries, robberies, and attempted murder. They present felony cases to grand jury for indictment and then prosecute these cases in Brooklyn Supreme Court through disposition. I also want to speak a little bit about our youth initiatives. We have we conduct educational presentations, in career days and court tours. Brooklyn assistant district attorneys present to youth on topics that include gang awareness, human trafficking, teen dating, violence. Youth can also tour our criminal court, Supreme Court, and also meet with judges. We have high school internship programs. Internships are awarded in spring, summer months. Currently, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office is offering an internship, and applications are active right now. We have our winter session, which is going to be February 20th till February 23rd. Our spring session is April 22nd till April 26th, and selected students will receive a weekly stipend of $150 and a MetroCard. So those are the times the students are off from school. The deadline for the application is January 31st. So if you have any high schoolers, please encourage them to apply. We also have the Explorer program. The DA's office partners with the Explorer program to engage young people interested in legal careers. I also wanted to speak briefly about some of the programs. We have a gender-based violence division. Last year, DA Gonzalez established a new gender-based violence division by bringing together the domestic violence and the special victim bureaus together. Briefly, I want to speak about our victim services unit. The Kings County District Attorney's Office recognizes that being a victim or a witness to a crime can be traumatic and a very confusing experience. And we will do everything that we can to help. We are committed to getting you the information and the assistance needed. The services that we provide is by crisis counseling, safety planning, court escorts, advocacy and other agents, with other agencies, physical and mental health referrals, assistance to eligible applicants in filing for financial and medical bill reimbursement through the NYC Office of Victim Services. We provide services in Spanish, Russian, Haitian Creole, and other languages. The phone number for our Victim Services Unit is 718-250-3820. I also want to speak briefly about our Human Trafficking Unit. The Human Trafficking Unit, HTCU, vigorously investigates and prosecutes those who such means as physical force and fraud have forced individuals into sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, and labor trafficking. So HTU co-chair the federally funded Brooklyn Human Trafficking Task Force. The HTU presents Human Trafficking 101, a training program to help teach community members to recognize the signs of human trafficking and what they can do to help law enforcement to stop it. So to report human trafficking, obviously call 911, or you could call the DA's office's Human Trafficking Unit at 718-250-27770. I'm just giving an overview. We have so many units, so many divisions, so many bureaus. To talk about every single one, it would take a week, if not more. But also, I don't know if you're interested in our conviction review unit. I could speak about that, but I also wanted to speak about our action center. So our action center serves as a direct point of contact between the DA's office and members of the public. By phone and in person. Specialized trained intake staff are available to speak with the community members and take reports about criminal activity. And we provide referrals to other. Sorry, I messed up here. So the Action Center specialists are available by phone and in person, especially intakes. Trained intake staffs are available to speak with community members, take reports of criminal activity, and provide referrals to other resources. Each contact is documented and forwarded to an appropriate staff member for review and action. So just last year, we've connected with the public more than ever. In 2023, the Action Center fielded more than 7,000 calls from Brooklyn residents, demonstrating our commitment of being accessible and responsive. So, when community members call in, if it's something within the DA's purview, we look into it and we assist. If it's something the DA's office does not handle, we refer folks to who to reach out to and to who to that could be of assistance. The Action Center's phone number is 718-250-2340. I encourage you to visit our website at brooklynda.org, where you could find more resources, more services and programs. Please visit the Brooklyn DA's website at brooklynda.org. And that's really it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You know how to reach me. And that's really it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. I do have a quick follow-up question on the Action Center.
Sure.
I wonder how most people decide whether to just call 911 or call
Uh,
their precinct or call the DA's office.
I mean, of
In fact,
course, I would call 911 first. And
okay,
then if it's an issue, either with a pre-existing condition to follow up on or to report something like crime activity or suspiciousness of fraud or something that they feel that needs to be investigated, that's when they actually should call the Action Center. But an immediate emergency, always 911, always. Our office is just mainly to investigate or to follow up on a case or to get information. And we don't really give information other than if it's to family members. But if it's a generalized public information, we might give some information. It depends on the case by case basis.
and does 911 maybe sometimes refer people directly on to the DA's office and say, hey, we think this is where you're going to get your best work help?
No, 911, predominantly 911, 311, and then the Action Center would be more of like follow-up and reporting
Okay,
certain things that they haven't received any answers on. Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this committee, and so I'm just trying to come up to speed, and
No,
thanks. And
no, it's fine.
now the keyword was investigate. That's what's
Yeah.
resonating in my head versus needing immediate help with a serious problem.
Yeah, yes,
Understood.
that's the distinguishing
Sure.
key word there. 911 emergencies, instant services. The DA's office is more investigative work. Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
Florencia, I believe you had a question. You're next.
Good night, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so thanks for that information. I have like actually three things to ask real quickly. One is, does does the human trafficking unit group, do they go out and like to churches?
Well, I mean, I don't know if the churches, we come out to do like a presentation and workshops. We have
Right.
our unit, if that's requested, we have our specialized personnel that come out and they'll give like a presentation and they'll teach you like the certain signs to look out for. They'll come out. But I mean, our office does go out with NYPD and other units to conduct like special operations and stuff like that. But for presentations, we do come out. Just, call me, call the office, and we'll set it up anytime.
Okay, so that's one. Also, for the youth tours,
Uh,
who do we call to?
you could call me as well. You call me since, I'm the point of contact for Community Board 14. You could call me and I'll be more than glad to set that up as well.
Great. And so the last part is a parent, no, not a parent, but someone reached out to me today in regards to a 14-year-old who is a twin that is at risk, giving the parent problems. So the parent tried to have him sent to their family member in another country, paid for the ticket, but he never got on the plane. And so now the parent is, just up in arms. And is there any kind of programs that besides, I did reach out to a precinct for them, but is there any program that at the DA's office for such a, he's really an intelligent kid. Just
Mhm.
that, I don't know what's going on, but so.
I mean, we could speak on that topic. It seems more personal. We could
Okay.
speak on that topic offline, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
Sean, I believe you were next.
Thanks. Thanks for everything, Nancy, and thanks for not just for everything tonight, but for everything all the time. I'm excited to have you all back to the youth conference this year. But I wanted to ask a question about the HTCU as well, because I think a lot of times when we think of human trafficking, it's associated with sex crimes, and I know that there's a new law or rule in place with SLA that adult entertainment establishments have to have human trafficking information posted at those establishments. And I imagine that came out of some of the work from offices like yours. But I'm wondering if it also applies if the district attorney's office is also involved in labor trafficking that isn't sex work oriented. If you could speak to that a little bit. And then just quickly before you answer, I just want to note, I know that your office does a great deal of work on conviction reviews. And I recently, it's really chilling to see, if you look at the comptroller's office and the amount of claims that are paid out to people who were falsely incarcerated, we see it's just even unemotionally, just from a practical point of view, it is in our interest to not falsely incarcerate people. Those payouts range, I think, depending on time served and stuff like that, but it is millions and millions and millions and, tens of millions of dollars. But they wouldn't be able to file those claims if it weren't for the good work from offices like yours that were identifying the false incarceration. So thank you for that work.
Of course. In regards to human trafficking, if you're interested, Sean, I could set up with our human trafficking unit to do a presentation, and that therefore you could, ask all the questions you want, and we could hopefully answer all your questions. But yes, we do labor trafficking as well is included. We look into those as well, like massage parlors and stuff like that. Is that like, can you give me an example of?
Even like on the construction sites, I know that there's been
Yes.
sort of an abuse of
Yes.
power of people who might have sort of tenuous status in the country. I know
Yes.
some of the migrant families have been offered positions that really put them in a bad spot in order to try to get to a good spot. So those
Yeah.
kinds of practices.
Yes, we look at all that, all as sex trafficking, labor trafficking. We look into that. We investigate those cases. But I would be more than happy to set up a presentation if you're interested in one of your committees one night like this, virtually or in person. In regards to conviction review, I just wanted to let you know that to date, the work of conviction review unit has resulted in 37 convictions being vacated since 2014. And currently, our conviction review unit has approximately 40 open investigations that we're currently looking into. So, just
Wow.
wanted to give you that information. But I'll be, my number. I'm more than happy to set up those presentations. I'm just a phone call away, Sean. I really want to thank you all for
I do.
having. I know. I just really wanted, to briefly touch on certain topics. There's so many different avenues here. So if there's a specific topic that you have in mind, let me know for next time, and I'll be more than glad to set it up.
And I think we have two last questions if you still have a minute.
Yes, yeah,
to
sure.
spare, Nancy. I think Nina, maybe you were next. Still there, Nina?
Yeah, I'm just trying to unmute. Yeah, so I just kind of point of interest, the Explorer program, is that still done in conjunction with Boy Scouts of America?
I believe it's with the NYPD. So
NYPD, but
yeah.
I think they go up to 10 Mile River Scout Camp, or at least they used to. And
From what I know, it's with the NYPD, but if I could find out more, and I will let Sean know, and maybe she'll give you the answer. Is it you asked the Boy Scouts, and what else?
Well, they used I know in the past, and I know this just because I was on the medical staff at 10 Mile River Scout Camp, that the explorers would come up every year, and they ran an awesome program. The kids had a fabulous, fabulous time, you know, swimming, kayaking, hiking, just all kinds of things. They had a big dance at the end. And so, you know, for those of you out there, I don't have teen kids anymore, but for those of you who do, or have teen grandkids or neighbors, you know, who've shown interest, this can be a big motivator too, to get them involved. And, you know, it's not just a static kind of a program, but it's a very active program.
Nina, I will get more information, but from what I know, it's done through the NYPD, specifically like that are interested in the law program. But I'll get more information. I'll pass it on along to Sean, and we'll take it from there. But it does sound very interesting what you just said about the Boy Scouts. Yeah, very interesting,
Thanks.
very entertaining.
Okay, then Joe, I think you're next.
Thank you, Barton. Nancy, I wanted to thank you. We had an assault, an anti-Semitic assault, just a week or two ago that you guys jumped on right away and prosecuting it actively. Thank you so much. And the other two things for Barton is I think that since it was raised again, maybe also one of future subjects for one of the meetings for community safety would be the 911 system. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of information that you would need to get out. We would need to get out to the community at large of its role. One more thing quickly. I'm sorry. About 25 years ago, a policeman's wife called me, and she said there's a house of prostitution on the block, and they can't get it closed. Even though she's a police, her husband's a policeman, nobody would do anything. She called me. I called the DA's office. I'm going back about 24 years. The DA said, "Joe, we treat this really as a victimless crime, but for you, we're going to do it." Through that, he called me back. He says, "God bless you. I can't tell you, it was slavery," and they were able to close that as well as 6 more of these houses of prostitution. It was sex slaves that they were able to save people's lives. So you never know where these calls lead to. Thank you both. Bye.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Joe.
Barton, I'm just gonna answer one more question. In
Yeah.
regards to child abduction, you asked in the beginning, I think you asked if our office or the FBI, I believe it's more fit for the FBI, to go that route with the FBI.
If yes, I know that it is because it goes over state
Yeah.
lines frequently.
Yes.
Barton, if you need me to reach out to the bureau, I have contacts there. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
And
That
Joe,
sounds
you were,
scary, Joe.
can I jump in, Barton? Is that all
Yeah,
right?
sure. Go ahead.
Just in case, and just in case, Joe, you were asking because there was a missing 5-year-old today. She has been located. She's safe. There was no, it wasn't nefarious. She's been located, if that's what spurred your question, because I know you know everything that's happening on the ground.
Oh,
And
no. It was just that there's the missing exploited children. It's part of the sex trafficking. It's part of custody issues. It's a very, very large issue. We had a meeting with it about 20 years ago, and I think it needs to be revisited. That's all.
And Barton, just in case you missed it, Carl does have a hand up.
I did miss it. Thank you. Go ahead, Carl. Sorry.
No problems. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Barton. Thank you, Nancy. Quick question for you about the high school internship, right? And so, as you mentioned, the application deadline is by end of day next January, the 31st. And so the question I have is,
This
there's 2
January.
sessions.
Yeah.
Yes, this January. Exactly, yes. And so the question I have is, there's 2 sessions. There's the winter one and the spring one. And so does this mean that a student who submits their application, if they're accepted, they can choose either the February or the April, or is it that the Brooklyn DA's office will place that student in one of those 2 sessions?
So let them apply to both, And you
Mhm.
know, I will work. You know, we have our specialist. She's the one that handles Felicia Harris. She handles the high school applications. I guess it depends on their preference, and then they'll have communication with Felicia Harris, and they'll work together on determining which one, and based on availability and placement. So it will be work between with the Felicia Harris, our specialist for internships here at the DA's office, and the student. Maybe there'll be, there'll be a little bit flexibility based on placements. Yeah, but there are requirements. So they have to be a junior or a senior that lives in Brooklyn, and they have to submit a resume, and they have to submit the most transcript and working papers and a personal essay of why they're interested in interning at the DA's office.
Gotcha. So thank you for that. And so then, out of curiosity, let's say I'm a junior or a senior who happens to be at a shelter, or I don't have a place, right? And so if I'm a junior or senior who happens to be at a shelter, in that case, would it be that the shelter's address is at Brooklyn, or that I attend a Brooklyn high school?
As long as they attend a Brooklyn high school.
Okay.
And
All right. Thank you for that.
and if it's a specialized case like this and you have their contact information, you could reach out to me and we could work together to make sure that they'll get into the internship.
Okay, cool. I don't know
Yeah.
anyone personally, but I was just thinking, we all know the city's this big, so there are always
Yeah.
students in those
As long
situations. So
as long as they live in Brooklyn, even if it's a high school, even if it's a shelter's address, it's fine as long as it's a Brooklyn address.
okay,
Well, I
thank you
think
so
we've
much. I
now
appreciate that.
given both the NYPD and the DA's office equal time, which I'm sure will go well in interagency circles. I think Sean's discussion of labor trafficking is very pertinent with the influx of migrants who are going to be totally open for abuse. And so I think it'd be great if we do an agenda item on that in the future. And Joe on 911, it's certainly pertinent. I think I heard a report today or yesterday that there's a huge absenteeism problem, and they're trying to find ways to attract more people to man the 911 phone. So I think the 911 system is also ripe for a quick review at some point down the line. So thank you both for those suggestions. Thank you, Nancy, for your time and insights. And we look forward to continuing working with you in the future.
Thank you so much for everything and Happy New Year, and looking forward to working with you in 2024.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other business?
The missing and exploited children also, Barton. Wanted to add that
Thank
to the agenda.
Thank you. Very good. Then I think our work here is done this evening. Thank you all for attending and taking the time, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks all. Great meeting. Be well.
Good night,
Everybody,
all.
night.
Thank you. Good night,
Right.
It's out.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Tommy.
Good night, everybody.